Well, hello, I'm Walter Schneiderman, and with my long career as a makeup artist during the golden years of Hollywood and the British film industry, people have asked me many times to tell my story, how it all began, what was it like in the early days, how my career developed, which great British and Hollywood stars had I worked with, and how one had to adapt to the increasing technical changes occurring in filmmaking, and of course, how my experiences in one of the most exciting industries shaped my life. This is my story behind the powder puff. Where does one start, or how does one start to write about life and experience behind the powder puff? As a young kid born in the lower end of Cleveland Street, in the West End of London, and then moving to Notting Hill, West 11, which I can assure you was not like it is today, was traumatic enough. And then within a very short time, my dad passed away, aged 43. I was just coming up to 11 years old. To me it seemed as if the whole world had collapsed. So there was my dear mother and I, looking at the world with a completely different view as to what happens now. The year, December 1933. I was always interested in drawing and the films, going to the cinema in the threepenny rush, and when the price increased to 4p, had to scrounge around to find another penny. It wasn't easy. The 4p. It wasn't easy. Two cinemas that stand out in my memory. One was called the Tolman Cinema, just off the Euston Road, West 11. The marble steps and the brass handrails leading up to the main entrance were like something magical to a kid of 6 years old. The other cinema was in Portobello Road in Notting Hill, West 11, called the Imperial Playhouse, in kids' terms called the Bug House, which I now believe is an Art Nouveau cinema. But there is one story that always comes floating back to me. I was about 11 years old and belonged to a young lads' social club, where one was able to play all board games such as chess, etc. Plus there were table tennis, billiards, snooker, boxing. And every so often a dance was arranged with a young girls' social club, all of the same age group. A dance was organised, but I didn't have a proper suit to wear. So mother took me to a well-known off-the-peg tailor shop to try and get me a suit. But unfortunately the price was too high for Mum. But just as we were walking out, wondering what to do next, the salesman came up to us and said to Mother, "Look, take the suit as long as you bring it back on Monday morning, in good condition." So there I was on Saturday with a new suit to wear on Sunday for the dance, and taking it back on Monday at no charge. I must say I was a wow at the dance. Time was moving on. Coming home from school, making my own tea. Mother never used to get home until at least 7 o'clock, then going round to the boys' club and playing some table tennis and generally mixing with the rest of the boys, mainly from my school. My bar mitzvah was coming close. It was the summer holidays, schools were closed, and I had only learned half of what I was expected to say, when who should I bump into one day? Only the local rabbi. He asked me what I was doing and how I was getting on with learning a portion of what I had to say on my bar mitzvah. My answer was negative, as the schools were closed. Without any more discussion, he arranged for me to go to his house the next 4 weeks, where he taught me and brought me up to scratch. At 14 years old I left school, going out to that big wide world, doing odd jobs, etc. One job I got was polishing the floor of a new wine shop. My knees were red sore at the end of the day. Then they wanted me to deliver the wines on a 2-wheeler bike. That's when Mother turned to me and said, "You have to get a proper job," and took me to some social office and managed to get me a job as an apprentice learning gentleman's hairdressing at 2 shillings and 6p a week, about 50p in today's money. The gentleman who taught me was a wonderful man who was so exact in how to approach the customer and how to handle the scissors and comb was really magic. And this stood me in good stead for when I got behind the powder puff. What was so funny was Mr. Hoddes, who was teaching me, liked to play the violin, and he got me to accompany him with a set of drumsticks when the shop was quiet. I was a good drummer. Truly, it was great fun. I began to learn quite fast, also enjoying what I was doing. After 2 years, it was time to move on. I'd had a very good teacher, but I needed to earn a bit more money. Mother was going out to work every day as a tailoress. I got a couple of jobs that kept me going. By this time, the war had started, and I was 17 years old. As the war progressed and the bombs getting nearer, it was getting very uncomfortable. I remember one night Mum and I were having a spot of supper when one could hear this bomb screaming down. Mum and I dived under the table, praying it would not hit us. It passed over and hit the house next door. What saved us was the wide garden space between the two houses, which took all the blast. The other house was smashed to rubble. But life had to go on. The year was now 1941. I was 18, and I decided to volunteer for the RAF. When I was called up for my interview, I said to the officer that I would like to be a pilot. He asked me if I knew anything about combustion engines. I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. He said, "You don't know, do you?" And I had to agree with him. So he turned to me and said that he was going to put me down as an air gunner, and to go and see the sergeant down on the lower floor, which I did. And he said to me that he was going to put me down as a ground gunner first, and if I wanted to change my mind later on, that would be okay. Who was I to argue? I was called up August the 20th, 1941, and had my 19th birthday on the 27th of August in the service. I was assigned to a newly formed unit which turned out to be one of the first units of the RAF Regiment, number 2713 Squadron. A commando unit of the RAF, my commanding officer was a great man named Red Wright, because of his red hair, and with whom I still keep in touch. The training was very hard, and as time moved on, the squadron went round all the RAF stations in the country, giving demonstrations of how to attack airfields and to counterattack the enemy. Prior going into the RAF, I had met a young lady named Ruby at a social club called the Top Hat Club, where most of my friends belonged. It was the start of a beautiful friendship which has lasted to this very day. The year is now 1943. The bombs were still coming down when Ruby and I decided we should get married.